Thank you. You know, it was interesting that former, I guess, Nikita Khrushchev, who used to be the leader of the Soviet Union, was forced out. And as he was leaving, he said to his successor, "I've got 2 letters here. And whenever you run into trouble, all you have to do is open up one of these letters. And it'll get you out of that jam." So the first crisis comes along, and they get the letter, and they open it up, and it says, "Blame everything on me." Second crisis comes up, he opens up the letter, and it says, "Write 2 letters." It's time right now for this president to start writing those 2 letters. Because I'll tell you this country cannot take any more of Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, or Ann Kirkpatrick, who's enabled both of them. That's where we're at right now in the United States.
Don't forget Harry Reid.
We don't want to forget Harry Reid. Here's sort of where we're at. The Democrats created these districts. They drew the districts how they wanted them to be drawn. They created them for one reason and one reason only, and that was to win Arizona and have a Democrat majority representing them in the U.S. Congress from the state of Arizona.
Yes, they did.
That's why they created them that way. And as a result, they created CD1 is one of the largest districts in the country. It goes from northern Pima County all the way up to the Utah border. It's one of the largest districts in the country. It's certainly the largest in the state. It is the size of the state of Pennsylvania. And they created it that way because they ultimately have a 9% registration advantage in CD1. But as of 2 weeks ago, they did a poll in this district, and it showed Ann Kirkpatrick and myself in a statistical dead heat. This is a winnable district, ladies and gentlemen, and there is one reason why I'm running and one reason only, and that is to protect the Constitution of the United States from the threats that we see in Congress and in the White House.
Yep.
We need to protect this republic. You've heard all about it today. We need to protect it because it is in danger at every step of the way, and it's particularly in danger in CD1. When you look at the commonality from one end of the district all the way to the other, there's one single problem that everyone talks about, and that is the overwhelming power that the federal government has over our lives. In a lot of other places in this state, it is a theoretical thing. You go to Phoenix, you go to Tucson, they talk about the federal government. People in CD1 live it.
Mm-hmm.
They live it when they deal with the Forest Service, when the Forest Service says, no, you can't have a permit. No, you can't have grazing rights. No, you can't go in and try to clear portions of the forest to protect it. You can't do that. You find it with the EPA. You see what's happening with the war on coal. You see what's happening with the Navajo generating station. You see what's going to happen with the PM10 regulations against farmers throughout this district. You see that with BLM. We would have the Resolution Copper Mine online if it weren't for the fact that the federal government is standing in the way. That is why we're running. People ask me about the economy. Look, the economy needs one thing and one thing only, for the federal government to stay out of our lives and stay out of our way. If they would do that, you would see small business people across this state starting up their businesses. But they can't right now because of the regulations. And what's the biggest reason? What's the biggest tax that we've got? What's the biggest regulation we've got? What's the biggest uncertainty in this country? It is Obamacare. And I've got news for you. With the fact that we now have Paul Ryan running as vice president in this country, we now have someone who's going to articulate the truth. Articulate the truth about what Obamacare really is. I've heard a lot from the Democrats about Medicare. You know what they say? They say, well, the Republicans are trying to hurt Medicare. The truth of the matter is, $700+ billion was stolen from Medicare to pay for Obamacare. They're the ones that have blood on their hands when it comes to Medicare in this country, and seniors need to look at the Democrats and ask them tough questions. Well, guess what? We've started doing that. We've started asking those tough questions. We put a petition online, and we asked the question, will you sign our petition to repeal Obamacare and get that $700+ billion back? And people are responding overwhelmingly to our petition. But you know who else is responding? The state Democratic Party. they're responding and they're saying, hold on a second, it's not our fault. It was a wise, I think, Amy Lynn, I don't know what the exact words were, wise and responsible decision for Ann Kirkpatrick to vote for Obamacare. Was it wise and responsible to eviscerate our economy? Was it wise and responsible for them to create the largest tax almost in U.S. history? Was it wise and responsible of them to basically steal from future generations the money that they put into Medicare? I don't think so. And that's our message. We are on the offense on Medicare. We are on the offense on Social Security. We are on the offense on the issues in this district and in this state. And you know what? We're going to win. We are going to win this race. But we're not going to win it on our own. The way we're going to win it is the way that the people of this country have always won races, with the people starting in meet and greets like this, in counties like this. That's where it starts. The Democrats say, you know what, you're not going to win Coconino County. That's what they say. It's funny, I was talking to people at the NRCC a while back, and they were like, well, is this really winnable? Is this a winnable district? Is this a winnable race? And we started telling him a little bit more about CD1. This is a true story. I was just telling your mayor about this. There was a briefing for Pete Sessions and other people at the NRCC, and they were asking questions about this district. And when it came to looking at the map, they pointed at Flagstaff and they said, well, is this even winnable? Is this possible? And the executive director of the NRCC, because he'd been briefed by us, he said, well, Flagstaff just got a new mayor, and he's a Republican. And they said, wow, maybe this is winnable. Globe, same thing. The new mayor of Globe is a Republican with over 62% of the vote. Eloy is now a Republican. We are winning city by city, county by county, and ultimately state by state. We are going to win this race. We're going to win the Senate back, and we are going to win the White House if we stay the course and fight for what we believe in. Thank you very much. What's that?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
All right, awesome. So you brought up VP Ryan. I'm just wondering what parts of his budget plan you agree with, you don't agree with, that kind of stuff.
I think that I will never agree with anything that takes away what seniors have put in throughout their whole lives. I think that's completely wrong. I agree with the idea that we have to reduce spending in this country. And I also agree with the idea that agencies like the EPA, agencies like the Forest Service, agencies like all of these other groups that are regulating us in this country, we need to look and find out what is constitutional in what they're doing and what is not constitutional in what they're doing. I believe that there is nothing in the Constitution that gives them the right to come into a place like Holbrook and shut down a coal plant. I don't think there's anything that's constitutional in giving them the right to shut down businesses wholesale in our state. We have the United States of America is the United States of America. And each state should have the purview within their own state to have more control over what happens within their state. And I think that the idea that people in Washington, D.C. understand the environment in the state of Arizona better than I just don't think that's right. I think the way they've been going about it is wrong, and I think that we need to look line by line at every single one of these agencies and ask those tough questions, and I think that's what Paul Ryan wants to do. But to be honest with you, the Ryan budget is not the budget that's going to be on the president's desk. He has his own budget that Mitt Romney has put forward, and I haven't looked at every single line of what he's talked about, but there are some things I like, some things I don't like. Yes?
Jonathan, in the past, your competitor, Ms. Kirkpatrick, always said she had a stronghold in the tribal lands, Navajo, Hopi, and Apache. What's your sense of your strength there?
This is an awesome question. We went up to the Navajo Nation, we went to Window Rock, and they had their opening day of session. And on their opening day of session, just like every other governing body, like the city has the state of the city, the U.S. has the state of the nation, they also have the state of the nation. And their president speaks before the tribal council, but unlike all those other bodies, their tribal council gets to ask questions. And it's a little bit like watching the British House of Commons. I mean, there's sort of a free-for-all kind of goes on between the two sides. And after that, I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. And then they vote on whether they accept his report or not. It's kind of like being voted off the island on Survivor. I mean, you give your presentation and they decide if they like it or not. So as a result of that, I'm watching this and the person next to me says, well, get ready because you're going to have to do that too. So I said, wow, I didn't know that. That will be interesting. So I gave my presentation. I basically said the same thing that I said here today. I talked about the EPA, talked about the Forest Service. I also talked about BIA because that's another issue that's important to them. And it's an agency that they struggle with. And at the end of it, they asked me questions. And they asked me very simple questions, the same questions that you all are asking me, about the budget, asking me about all these different things. And then they voted. Well, Winona Baldenegro was running against Ann Kirkpatrick was there. She gave a presentation, and so did Ann Kirkpatrick. I got a unanimous vote from the tribal council, and I don't know if there's any Republicans on that council or not. If there are not a lot of them. We got a unanimous vote. Winona got a unanimous vote. Ann Kirkpatrick did not get a unanimous vote. And here's the two reasons why. The two reasons why was, first of all, she didn't answer their questions. She refused to adequately answer their questions. And the second reason why was, they said, there was a great question was asked, and this gentleman said, what have you ever done for us? When you were in Congress, did you even give a speech on our behalf? Because I've been looking online and I can't find anything. Is there something on YouTube I could find? She couldn't even address that. She is facing a divided constituency all across this district. And I can tell you that if she's counting on the Native Americans to support her, she's got another thing coming. Because we're going all over the tribal lands in this state. Not just the Navajo Nation, but all the others too. And in Pinal County, we went to the Gila River community. She's never even bothered to address them at all. So we're not taking anything for granted. We're not taking Flagstaff for granted. We're not taking any of the counties. We put 60,000 miles on my car so far in this race, going from one end of the district to the other. The last 6 weeks, we've been to Coconino County every single week in this district.
Years ago, when Kirkpatrick was running, there was a debate who she was running against, attending in the auditorium at Farm Library. Are there any debates scheduled this year?
I am so glad you asked that question. The question was, are there any debates scheduled? She has thus far refused to debate anyone in this race. We've had over 16 debates in our primary. Some included the Democrats, some did not. She's refused to go to any with us, and she's refused to go to any with her Democratic opponent. And I'm prepared to debate her. We want to do it. We've just been asking for her to actually make a public appearance once in a while. That would be nice. We held a thing in Holbrook on the anniversary of the day that she walked out on Holbrook, on her own town hall. And we did an event there. And we had a crowd of people. Some people were asking questions from different parties. And we haven't shied away from any of those questions. She does not want to answer questions in the district. And the questions that you're asking, I think, are that question, if you can ever find her at an event, you should ask her if she's willing to debate. Because she criticized Paul Gosar about debating, but she won't even debate her own opponent in the primary. Other questions?
John.
Yes, sir.
Other candidates prior to you going all the way back to Renzi and those guys. It's a big district. A lot of people, there's a lot of the state of Arizona involved in it. We happenstantially seem to be obviously forgotten on a regular basis. It's real important to be down in Payson. It's real important to be down in Tucson. It's real important to be down in State Senate. What about what's going on up here above the rim? We are a population. What commitment are you going to have that if you get elected that you're still going to remember you're from here, not from Phoenix, not from Tucson, but from Coconino County as well?
Well, I think first of all, you have to look at what someone is already doing. And the fact that we've come here practically every week since the campaign started shows a commitment for this area, and we have a strong presence in the community. The second thing is that I've made a commitment across this district that we're going to do public town halls throughout the district, as many as we can possibly do. So, and here's the other thing, we're not going to screen the questions. If you have a question and you want to ask that, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should be able to ask that question in front of everybody and get an answer directly. And that's what our commitment is. And my sister lives in Williams. I can guarantee you, she's not going to let me forget about this community.
That's a good
gonna be
answer
all
in and
over.
of itself.
There you go.
It's been a problem. I mean, I think Paul Grosshart's been back to town like twice. That it was announced that anybody knew he was coming, and that seems to be the biggest problem. It is our representation. We'd like to be able to reach our representatives. They're in Washington all the time. We have no way to communicate.
And I think that's a fair question. And here's the thing, and I want to distinguish myself from my opponent, because she will not announce when she's going into an area. We do. And for that reason, we always get a Democratic tracker that follows us to all of our events. They usually take audio. And I find it interesting that they will send a tracker, but they won't send Ann Kirkpatrick. And why won't she announce where she's going?
Because Janet's not here anymore. Without Napolitano, Kirkpatrick has no platform.
Well,
You know, that
She
she
has
got
no
her here, and that's
constituency.
why she meets the lead,
And-
because she's not part of the stadium.
and in my opinion, she has no constituency in this district. She has no constituency for this simple reason that everything that she believes in, Obamacare, the stimulus, she said on Flagstaff radio, I will not second guess the president. Ladies and gentlemen, here's my responsibility, and I'm going to get the hook here in a second. My response, and I'll leave you with this. The responsibility of your member of Congress, first and foremost, is to ask the tough questions of the executive branch and be a check and a balance on the executive branch. That is the way our country was set up. I don't care who the president is. I don't care if it's Barack Obama or if it's Mitt Romney. That's what your member has to do. And to say that you will not second guess the president, regardless of what his party is, I think is irresponsible, and that's my job, and that's why I'm running to do this job. Thank you very much.
All right. Guys.